Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, old Pentium in the basement. Caught a helpdesk scammer. My fourth screen won't work. Retired professor with way too much time. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Old Pentium in the basement. Long-time lurker on TFTS, thought I'd share a story from a few years back. English is not my first language. A couple of years back I worked at a large software company which develops payroll/HRM software, but also did payroll administration for other companies which didn't have them in-house. The company at the time had around 2,500 employees. My job was first-line support for internal employees. Every phone call, email pretty much went through me and I had to dispatch. Often I also had to do second-line tickets as well because we were pretty understaffed. The team consisted out of multiple employees, my direct colleague which dealt with second-line calls, one colleague which only dealt with the phone system, and two elder men which were put in the basement dealing with hardware replacements. We also had one team lead. We only dealt with internal employees and had nothing to do with customers or supported any of the software the company developed. I often did receive calls when software X or Y stopped functioning, but always had to point them elsewhere. I was working there about 8 months in when one of the elder men retired. This was around summertime when things got quiet at the office. My team lead decided it would be sad to leave the other guy in the basement, and also would be better for us to have him come sit at the office. My team lead confiscated one of the manager office, with the fancy glass walls, next to us for him to come sit there. So we went ahead and started to clean the basement and moved hardware upstairs. Every piece of ancient hardware would be given to charity, there was a lot. We put everything in carts for charity to pick up. The basement desk consisted of 2 workspaces, but there were 3 desktops. One of the desktops was an old Pentium 3, only had power and Ethernet connected to it. My team lead and I cleaned up the desktops and put the Pentium 3 inside of the cart. 3 weeks went by and most of my colleagues went on holiday. I received a call from the software development team. There was a problem with a payroll conversion for a large customer. Like I mentioned earlier, we do not deal with in-house software/customers. The next day I had a manager at my desk explaining that a company delivers them files which they upload into a web server which converts the files so it becomes compatible with the in-house software which can then get the payroll going. I explained to him that I had no idea what he was talking about and should be going to the sysadmins to check on the web server. Later that day I both had the manager and one of the sysadmins sitting at my desk explaining they couldn't reach http://10.10.30.21 anymore. At this point I'm getting really annoyed, explaining this isn't my problem nor do I manage the infrastructure. I already am busy as it is being the only support employee. They both explained a large bank employees didn't receive their salary and that this is a huge problem. Things went back and forth for a couple of days, and during those conversations I started to get more and more information about the web server being down. It turns out the employee who made the web server left the company years ago. Also there was no documentation. Went outside for a smoke and started thinking about the whole situation where I suddenly thought to myself, can it be one of the old desktops? Surely it can't be the old Pentium 3 machine, right? I went to the basement and went through the disposal cart. Took the machine up, connected it to a monitor. It started booting Linux, forgot which one. Once booted up I tried connecting to the web server, but still received a timeout. I walked to one of the sysadmins to check the latest DHCP leases and try reaching the web server on each IP first try. The web server. I asked the software department if this was the web server they were referring to, which got confirmed. I also explained that this was a Pentium 3 machine that apparently has been sitting in the basement for years, which didn't matter to anyone, of course not, their web server was working again, wasn't it? I told them to deal with the issue and pull the information off the machine, so we can get rid of it as it is now running under my desk. Also, no one had the credentials for the Linux machine. Weeks went by and the machine was still collecting dust under my desk. I started threatening the department that I will unplug the machine soon if they didn't do anything about it. I asked if they couldn't call the employee that left the company if he still had the credentials. This is where the story gets a little sad though. It turns out that not only he left the company, but also had a stroke in his backyard which left him laying on the ground for 2 days and has been in a coma ever since. I suddenly felt really bad about the whole situation and the way I have been reacting. I offered the software department to see if we could hire a consultant to convert the machine to a virtual machine at their costs, which was agreed upon. After finding one, it took the consultant 3 days to convert the machine, which I passed on to the sysadmins to run on ESX. No one expected that this conversion web server for salary payment of large bank was running in the basement all these years. The ones that did know left the company either years ago or retired. Until this day I still think that machine is running. A year later I left the company, but that is a different story. Caught a helpdesk scammer. So a couple weeks ago a user requests a docking station for use at home. I know for a fact she has a docking station at her desk, but she wants one just to set up at home because there are too many wires. Well, lead time on docking stations is currently something like 6 weeks. We're supposed to be either full-time WAH or in office, not going between, and no one who isn't in the C-suites gets 2 docks. Her request is denied. A few days ago, same user claiming their docking station is broken. I go desk side and Ethernet, 2 monitors, keyboard and mouse are working. I unplug it, plug it back in, everything comes up like fine clockwork. Ticket closed with issue self-corrected and a private note that there weren't nothing wrong to begin with. Today, another ticket from the same user. Docking station intermittently failing. This one calls me out specifically for not fixing it last time. Nope, not how things happen in my help desk. Tell her again I can't find any faults, but she is insistent that it stops working sometimes. Okay, says I have an older model dock. Does everything the current one does, but doesn't have charging over the USB-C port, so she'll need to lug 2 power bricks between here and home. She's okay with that, so I swap the docks and pick up the old one. I don't think she quite caught on that I used most of the old cables, and she'd have had to know what a DisplayPort cable is even if her plan worked. Where are you taking that? She asks, sounding angry. Oh, we've got to dispose of bad hardware. Though in this case I thought I'd use it for building laptops. Even if it's not 100%, it works well enough to use on the workbench. But it's mine, she whines, I have to throw it out. And the plan is revealed. Not like it wasn't obvious, but seriously, what was she thinking? Oh, sorry, no. E-waste has to go through removal from active stock, then proper disposal. Go green, save the planet. Besides, I think we can still use this. You could see it hit her. She saw her glorious future of not having to disconnect wires vanish in a puff of bureaucratic smoke. And that's how I got a current model docking station for my work laptop, with USB-C PD and triple monitors at my desk. My 4th screen won't work. I work in desktop support for a large logistics company. A lady called me the other day wanting to explore why her 4th monitor wouldn't work. So I remote into the computer and immediately take a look at what card she has in the computer. I can no longer remember exactly what the card was, but I threw its name into Google, went to the manufacturer website, and saw in its hardware specs that it supported a maximum of 3 screens. Boom. There's our answer. Your hardware is limiting your experience. That didn't shake her. Ping. Opens MS Teams. Could we try updating drivers? I have the CD for the computer. Me, no, that will target the entire machine, and it isn't a driver problem. Some time goes by and my headset rings again. I answer. It's her. This time she's wondering why only one of her screens is working as she replaced the graphics card. I have absolutely no idea where she got it from. But now she wants to update these drivers to make it work. I explain there are limitations to these things, and that whatever she stuck in there is more than likely not compatible with the rest of her system. Well, can you check? Soon after this, I just explained that 3 screens will be her maximum, and she hated it. Retired professor with way too much time. Another story from the early days of my sysadmin career. This was at a fairly large public university in the US. There were a couple of retired professors who liked to come by every couple of days, so we had an office set aside with an older desktop system for them to use, mostly so they could feel like they were still part of things. These guys were universally liked since they were always super nice and appreciative of anything we could do for them. One of these, we'll call him Bob, used to ride his bike in every couple of days. Usually he'd stop by my office for a couple of minutes to shoot the breeze. One day he stopped me in the hallway and asked if we have any computers that still have 5.25-inch floppy drives. That kind of floored me since I was pretty sure we didn't even have any systems with the 3.5-inch floppies. We were barely using optical media at this time, almost everything was done over the network or USB stick. I told him I didn't think so, but why did he ask? Turns out he was cleaning out his garage and had found boxes and boxes of old floppies, and wanted to go through them to see what was on them. I'm kind of sensing a huge project I could get sucked into, helping him with his stroll down memory lane. So, I ask a few questions. Me, how long have those been in your garage? Bob, 10 to 15 years. Me, so, they've been through that many summer/winter cycles? This was in the Southwest. Garage temperature could get up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer and below freezing in the winter. Bob, well, yeah. Me, there's a good chance they are mostly unreadable without sending them to a professional data recovery company, which would cost a lot. Bob, I don't want to do that, I just want to check myself. What do you think I should do? Me, do you think there's anything like social security numbers or stuff like that? Bob, no, probably old programs and things like that. Me, I'd start throwing 1 box per week into my trash can until they're all gone. Bob, looking horrified, I can't do that. There might be something important on them. Me, Bob, you said these boxes have been your garage for 10 to 15 years, you've survived this long without them. Don't you think maybe they can't be too important? Bob throws his head back and laughs, I guess you're right. I didn't hear any more about this project, I'm hoping he gave it up, but if not, more power to him.